I speak in the name of the living God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. This morning, as an American nation, we are a very divided nation. Last few months, in the nation's powerful halls in Washington, there have been debates on both sides. We may not agree or disagree, but as I read the psalm, what will bring us together? Lord, I love the house in which you dwell, in the place where your glory abounds. My foot, the nation's feet, I pray, stands on level ground. In the full assembly, I will bless the Lord. As Christians, as followers of Jesus Christ, we are people on both sides of the aisle. And we have our own opinions. But this is my prayer throughout the nation. As people assemble, they come and bring their divisions on fault lines where we stand. But our focus is Jesus Christ. And we focus and say, Lord, I love the house in which you dwell, in the place where the glory abides. And we pray for people who are on this side or on this side, that there will be a medicine from the cross of Jesus to heal our nation. And the people of God from the Church of Jesus Christ will be that medicine to heal the divisions of our nation. Also for me, it's been quite a difficult week from the beginning. As I said last week, I wanted Reverend Charles to preach. And then this was a challenge again. I know we have asked our brother reading for this coming Sunday. I may ask her to preach our Karen Winkler over there. And this was another difficult week to preach, because the gospel reading on which I like to preach are talking about divorce, talking about marriage, and those are all difficult issues, as we all know. One marriage out of 3 fails in a nation. And the gospel talks about this ancient institution of marriage. And I wanted up till 12 o'clock. Yesterday I said I should look for another lesson. And then I said, no, I should pray harder. As I've been struggling, I would like to preach on the subject of the gospel, marriage and divorce. And as I was praying and struggling, trying to figure out where should I begin with, I would like to sum up and then go on with what the Lord has given me to share with you. And that God sets up this idea. As for our nation, Father of the nation, you set up some ideas how as a nation we should be behaving and living together. Safely, that God has set up an idea. God also knows our brokenness. I've been married to Myra for 40 years. This year in October 24th, it'll be 41 years. And so I don't think, it's been all wonderful, rosy, and beautiful and sweet, years. There are times when Myra is mad So, all right. And so all I'm saying is, the ideal of marriage is that we can get along, and all the laws we exchange. But in that broken as we human beings live, God ideal is this, what the gospel is speaking. But as St. Paul says, Jesus said to Paul, my grace is sufficient for you. It means all our brokenness, it means all our failings. We still look toward this ideal and say, God give us the grace that we can work towards it. Gospel talks about, as I say, this ancient institution of marriage. 2 years ago, I read an article in Chicago Tribune, and I saved it on my iPad. This article was published about findings of marriage in the 21st century in North America. In this article, Susan Pease Godoa, licensed therapist and co-author of The New I Do, Reshaping Marriage for Skeptics, Realists, and Rebels, states, I think we have reached a tipping point where people are asking whether marriage works for them. Human beings throughout the history has lived, and the culture has evolved, and the gospel has to, work with that culture and be incarnate in that culture and see how the gospel becomes relevant, source of joy, source of good news, source of salvation, and even at times, learn what the gospel is speaking to us today. So, I will then go back to what we hear in the gospel this morning, a very difficult teaching of Jesus and very challenging. Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? These are all men, these Pharisees, whose job is really to judge people. They have 300 some, laws that they impose on the Jewish people, and Jesus was also getting tired of them. And they are asking, the idea of them asking this question is to trap this good rabbi, Jesus of Nazareth, whom people are following from all directions and joining his caravan as he keeps moving. Often these questions reflect ongoing controversies among competing factions. It's not only Americans who are dealing with the competing factions. It was right there when Jesus was walking on this earth, and they are, there's so many answers, and that can likely offend someone, and they say, oh, we got Jesus, the rabbi. You shall notice here that Jesus refuses to deal with this question on the terms of the Pharisees, the experts of the law. Twice they speak. What is lawful? What is allowed? Tell us, the great rabbi. But twice Jesus, our Lord, speaks about what is commanded. He goes back to Scripture. Jesus begins his answer by giving the ideal from the creation story of the book of Genesis, chapter 2. God made the male and female. Later he told his disciples, whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her, and if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery. Wow, very, very difficult. It dropped quite a bombshell on the ears of his listeners. It is quite shocking from the lips of the teacher, the rabbi, Jesus of Nazareth, who had invited them and had said, "Come to me, bear my yoke, which is light and easy, and he shall refresh their souls." This is where the good news dwells. The rabbi, Jesus the teacher, here is quite hard on those who are either contemplating or have gone through their own separations. I must say at first, it seems guilt-ridden teaching. Guilt-ridden teaching to those who can be characterized within the following data. The divorce rate in America. You hear it nearly every day that there is an epidemic of divorce, with 1 in 2 marriages failing. Jesus' emphasis is on God's ideal, which is permanence in male and female relationships. Anything less is a departure from divine model. In Jesus' time, there were 2 schools of thoughts that followed the teaching of Deuteronomy chapter 24 in the Old Testament, which says that the only ground by which one could divorce his or her spouse was marital unfaithfulness, an offense that was originally punished by death, and even now in countries like Afghanistan and many Islamic countries, that practice is done. In a male-dominant society, law usually punished the female. Even today in some societies in the world, there are still honor killing of young ladies. Sad. Jesus here in his teaching warns Christians of divorce's consequences. Jesus' culture was not very favorable to the women. For the divorced woman, it meant no safety net, neither alimony, nor any means of legal recourse. What may sound to ears as relentlessly harsh assumes a different tenor when we understand that Jesus' intent is through the protection of the honor of the spouse, in this case the woman, as a child created in the image of God, not as a chattel, not as a property to be discarded. The selfish women. Keeping in mind this background, we should find out how the text speaks to us this morning. We learn that divorce is grounded in law, as they quoted. Moses commanded us this, but marriage is created in creation. In Mark chapter 10, the gospel just pronounced and read to us this morning in verse 5, it is because, Jesus says, because of the hardness of heart, God allowed divorce. Jesus is saying, I do not want you to believe that God approves these qualities in us. Instead, he points us to the goodness of God, design in creation, and the goal of man and woman living together as heirs of the grace of life. We must remember the important truth about marriage is that it is God's invention, not ours. Long before sin ever entered the world, God looked down on Adam and declared, it is not good for you to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. The wedding was performed by God in the Garden of Eden. Marriage is a gift. Marriage is a gift to love each other, to be in fellowship with each other. Men to bless us and make us complete. I understand it's not easy to always maintain the relationship, as I said earlier, in harmony. I ask you, do we know that we can say, oh, boy, Jake and Anne have a perfect marriage? Do we know those examples? I ask you, do you know of a perfect marriage for in God's divine model? We know many couples in our society end up in breakaway relationships, separations, and some of you may be hurting as you hear the words of Jesus this morning. I read another article of Professor William D. Oglesby. He once said in pastoral care class, he was a professor of theology and pastoral care, and I quote, he said, "They say some marriages are made in heaven, but it appears to me that some are born in hell." In a broken world, divorce is sometimes necessary. I remember I was talking to a couple, and the grandfather was also there, and he said, "Father Pat, some marriages in my spirit just die." Yes, I agree with you. We have our difficulties and challenges, but at the end of the day, both partners need God's grace and mercy to sustain their relationship within this holy bond. Keep your eyes on Jesus to receive His grace. Is there a good news? Us, we are the people of the gospel. Is there a good news? Let me give you the good news after this hard gospel. Jesus in His answer gives women precisely the same rights and responsibilities as men. Similarly, children, because the other part of the gospel is about children. Children who are the least valued and most vulnerable members of society, and the women who are also the least in Jesus' society, are welcome, embraced, loved, honored. Their dignity is restored in the kingdom of Jesus Christ, blessed by Him and offered as models of receiving God's grace and mercy and salvation. Jesus' teaching is revolutionary, with new possibilities of communities where love rules, not oppressive rule, laws rule. The possibilities of a community's fellowship shall be warm and welcoming, showing love for one another and for all God's people. You agree or disagree? They shall forgive one another, bear one another's burdens, while offering friendship to the lonely and support for the weak, and even so shall accept those who are judged by our society, despised or rejected by our society and standards and the canon laws of the church. Into such a community, my brothers and sisters, into such a community, we are called to live and honor each other's dignity in Jesus' name. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.